Well, I know I have to explain things at some point or another because, well, I'll be on, I'm almost done with a book and have to probably do a book review thing or something like that. But yeah, I took a punch this Friday. And um, I should probably go through, yeah, laughing nervously, as I always do. Um, I also kind of want to get my thoughts down about the whole situation because I'm unable to fully process yet what it all means for, for where I am and what I'm doing. Um, so, the first thing that happened, as far as my memory is a bartender comes up to me and says, a certain guy who I don't even know, I mean, like by name or whatever, uh, said, I know his name now, but said that I had like touched him or something and that he was going to fucking punch me if I did again. And at the time, in my kind of addled state, because, definitely altered by the alcohol and by the dance as well. I've certainly danced myself into the same sort of ecstatic situation without alcohol, where I'm not able, to understand everything that's going on very well. But the combination is stronger. uh, and then, the guy kind of comes out and like, I don't know, gives me the finger from the doorway quite a way away. I try to ask, actually after I try to ask what's going on. And the only thought I had at the time is, I don't know, maybe I brushed up against him or something. But now when I think back to it, I'm pretty sure I would have remembered if he had immediately kind of confronted me. Now, whatever. But one thing is certain, I don't think under any circumstances I would do anything that would sort of engender that kind of rage, right? In terms of like, touching someone or something, male or female. And especially male in the sense that I don't even have an interest in males, right? I mean, I really don't. And I don't know, then later towards the end of the night, and I can kind of remember much of the end of the night, but not the punch itself, as it were, so I don't know what happened there. I haven't asked. But yeah, I mean, there's two times in the night when I'm really unleashed. One is right at the beginning, and it's a very controlled sort of thing where, I'm playing to the crowd, and then the crowd gets too big, and I find my corner and I go dance in that. And then at the very end of the night, the floor empties out largely again. And there, it's not as empty as at the very beginning, but like the early beginning, I dance through the crowd, and because the stage lights, the floor lights are up at that point, I can see people in a way that I can't really see them, with all the colored lights and darkness and all that. So I kind of catch people's eyes and, smile while I'm dancing and play with them a little bit in it. No touching. Uh, I would never touch anyone like that. It's just not in me. It's sort of, it's very, people might touch me though. And I think what happened was that I caught the eye I've danced with for a little bit, and again, when I say danced with, I mean near and not not like slow dancing or anything like that. Uh, Someone that he was interested in or whatever, that he had been dancing with somewhat. Um, and yeah, and then boom, and eye is not in good shape. I haven't washed my face. I washed everything else, but the biggie is my glasses took a nasty bend to them that I can't seem to fix. And yes, I have another pair. This may be the time where I switch to that other pair, which is better. It's newer, whatever. Been delaying it for several years. Which is probably not how one should deal with glasses, but and in part because these aren't settling right, so I can't even read really easily with them. They're the progressives, so they have like 3 different heights, and if they're not balanced perfectly, it can cause issues. There might also be damage to my eye. I don't know. I really don't know. Again, I can see okay at distance. There's pain, whatever. But then I spent Saturday, and this is not all that uncommon, debating whether or not I should live and kind of sleeping the whole day away. Now, I was not hungover, sober enough I would have been able to do things, and wasn't feeling terribly bad except for the effects of the incident in terms of like what that sort of heightened that feeling of so I would lie down and try to stop my organs and stuff like that, which of course doesn't work. I'm not some faker or something who's able, FAKIR, who's able to control my body to that level, whatever. But I like to think that it's possible, so try, and also kind of didn't eat anything and I've had a couple of slices of cheese or whatever, because that's also another way out that I actually know is possible. And you might say, well, that's all a little melodramatic and extreme, and yeah, but that's the kind of person I am. And also, this is sort of kind of the last thing I have left is the dancing. It's the only time I go out of my house other than to go shopping or, I absolutely need something or anything. There's nothing else. Yeah, I had a couple of gaming, dates, but last couple of weeks I don't think I have. I don't know. And I get to go out for walks and whatnot with people, but that's not the same kind of thing. This is something I that's really, like, it's the reason I moved to this town, to be honest, was because this night was still going, 15 years or whatever after I left. It's been going longer than that, but and it was really the distinguishing item of note, along with a couple of gamers who said I should come back to Eugene. One of whom the only one that I really interacted with out of those, I think, has moved elsewhere, so that's not really an issue either. Not that we gamed a hell of a lot, but I did find other gamers here before, and whatever. So that was kind of cool. Like the first year I came here was just so exciting. The music was back and regular. I was still working. I had my wife with me. I was gaming on a regular basis, and then I moved to this house, which was kind of made things more difficult in a number of ways. Although, it's given me a place where I could have people to game. But anyway, I spent much of the day when I wasn't actually asleep. I'd sleep for a couple hours, and then, put on a video or whatever to fall back asleep. But when the video was over, I'd just lie in bed and think, trying to recreate what I could out of the night. And there's a few interesting things. First of all, this guy, I do know, I've interacted with him before. Always relatively friendly, although there was always something that seemed very fake. As if the friendliness, I want to say is forced, I don't know. But again, some people are just that way, right? And now, as I reconstruct and my paranoid mind goes into gear, I begin to wonder, not about earlier interactions terribly, but again, I don't think there's any possibility that I actually did anything that would engender that kind of anger. Accidentally brushing against someone or something. It doesn't seem like it would do that. It just doesn't, right? It's a crowded bar. That could have happened. I would not have noted that. If he turned and said something to me, I think I would have noted that. Not positive. But my interactions with people are fairly limited. I generally, I sit at my table, I get up and dance to music I like, and then I go outside and pace when it feels like there's not going to be anything I like for a while. And then come back in and dance because music's changed or whatever. But that was the first thing. And the more and more I replay this and think about it, and of course, this is the way the brain works, right? It's not always accurate or whatever. But the more and more, which is to say, I can't be sure of any of this. I can be sure of what my processing's been. Is that it felt kind of like the whole thing was kind of faked or staged. Like maybe he's just so fucking unhappy with, he's never there early, but he's almost always there late, with how I dance late at night and how I interact, with the whole crowd. And maybe, girls he's interested in or whatever have expressed how good I am at it and stuff like that. And that caused some sort of jealousy or something of that nature. And then, so the triggering point was, I'm interacting with some girl that he was interested in or whatever. Not that, it's not like I take any, that I've gone home with any of these or had any real interactions of that nature. Did have one girl several years ago who was, I want to marry somebody who dances as well as you do. And I was cutting that down real fast because anybody whose concept of, I want to be married to someone, possibly it was, and she tried to introduce me to her father, and that was just a weird thing. I think I discussed that long ago, but that was just the weirdest fucking thing, and I was I'm totally not comfortable with what's going on here. Because she had a boyfriend and everything, and it was just so weird. I remember when, I was talking with her father, and I don't understand, but he's talking sports stuff. I'm just I don't really watch. It was football or something. And I remember kind of cutting the whole thing off with, do either of us really have a reason to be talking? We had nothing in common except that, I don't know. Anyway, It was all very, very fucked up. But that was something long ago and far away. Um, at least a couple of years ago. But that's the closest, and that wasn't late at night. That was, it just caught me during my pacing. Although she was there late at night usually. So I could see where, there was this kind of thing. And to me, then it feels like the whole thing was kind of, this is one of my suppositions, the whole thing might have been a setup, in the sense that he went to the bartender and said this with the full intention of hitting me later in the night. Like he had just come to this decision of that. Like I said, he's a very strange creature. He comes across very, very fake every time I've interacted with him. And the anger and whatnot about what I think could have possibly happened, which is, again, this accidental brushing by through the crowds or whatever. It was packed at that point. That just doesn't compute to me. And also, he would not have said anything that would have stuck in my head beforehand. So that was my first, my little paranoid brain working. And then the next goes to, not last time I was there, but the 3 times preceding that, there was an incident, and I've talked about this, where someone had to leave the bar because they were too sick. The final one being an accusation that there was drugging involved. Of the 3, I went outside every single time and tried to urge, look, people, they need medical attention or something, probably. This just doesn't happen. These are not. They didn't look like college kids who were overdrank and not used to drinking or whatever. We're talking about older people, not real old, but. And then with the third one, thinking she was drugged after like 2 drinks, and she is a regular there. I really started to feel something weird. Anyway, and I got weird vibes from the staff after the first incident, certainly, when I was out there. But then seeing this happen 3 times, now the third time they did call the EMTs or whatever to come, and at least there was that. But the first 2, nobody was called. They just kind of like helped her puke and get out, got an Uber or whatever, or somebody to take her with them. And then I start to think, wait, is there some kind of complicity here of some sort? Am I kind of persona non grata at the bar, at least in the view of a couple of people there at this point? And they couldn't, I'm pretty sure they couldn't just say, yeah, you can't come here, your dancing is too much. Because I've been there for so long, and it's really fucked up. But, I'm thinking, well, if they decide I'm like more trouble than they want, especially for these instances, whatever, I could actually see a complicity in the whole damn thing. At the very least, I headed off with my ride, and as we were partway home, I was just like, you know what, I want to press charges. So we went back to the bar, talked to sort of the head bartender, whatever. He's the one who came to warn me, by the way, or to tell me, don't touch this guy or something. But at the very least, he apparently tried, got on his phone for a little bit, and was like waiting with us for police to come or something. They didn't show up. And then he had kind of this, oh, I guess there's no record of this, so I guess I didn't actually enter it. And he didn't call 911 or anything. He entered something, you know, like some kind of report and whatever. And then he asked my address and, you know, put that in as the place. And, you know, I was expecting someone to show up yesterday or whatever and dreading it, you know. I could have dealt with it a lot easier right in the instance. And I had, you know, a couple of worries. One is, look, you know, I get a police record on the guy, I can maybe sue him and get the glasses covered at the very least. But even more important than that to me was that that kind of record might make it so that, you know, he's not coming back. Nobody said anything along those lines. And I can tell you, with that initial interaction with the bartender, when I play that back and think about it, yeah, he warned me. But if he didn't warn the other guy, look, you do anything like that and you're gone. You know, this is not the place for that. That's the kind of thing that just worries me. That's the kind of thing that is just like, yeah, I don't, like, I feel like at the very least, I can't feel safe under those kind of circumstances. And I still haven't decided what I'm doing and what's going on. But yeah, the police never showed up. So again, he probably didn't actually do anything. And I kind of feel like that's the situation with the first two alcohol experiences where someone was out there was, you know, the bar's name in the thing. Now I'm going to look to see if anything showed up in the police blotter, but my feeling is that absolutely nothing was ever reported, and that, you know, he's just essentially fluffing me to make sure that, you know, if he had just said, well, I'm not going to do it, you can call, you know, then I might have done so, right? And that would be more problematic. He did message me and ask if LE came, which I guess is law enforcement. I didn't realize at the time. But, yeah. I'm, like I said, completely dumbfounded as to what I should do or whatever at this point, whether I should just stop going, which sucks because, again, it is the one thing in my life at this point that I kind of do. I even, you know, like, and I had another thing disappear on me online that I don't want to go into, but that's my own fault. But yeah, I essentially got banned from something that I was enjoying a great deal. And, you know, it was an on-off thing that I enjoyed, but, like, yeah, and whatever. But it's just sort of like looking forward without this feels like an even bleaker life. You know, kind of like when my wife died, yeah, there goes one of the things that kind of kept me going. And so, yeah, I don't know. Anyway. Mainly I felt like I have to do this just because visually it's going to be obvious when I'm on my next video that, like, yeah, something happened. And then I did take a bath, but I didn't wash my face. Why not? Because my way of dealing with injuries of any kind is to kind of like just ignore them as long as I possibly can. Just like most things in my life. Anyway, ciao. We'll figure out what the fuck I'm up to at this point. I just want to clarify, I did check the police logs, and my paranoia in that case is definitely not warranted. There was a report put in It took the police 2 hours to show up, and there was nobody there at that point, like, which makes perfect sense. So at least I know that the initial attempt did actually get made, and whatever. So maybe some of my concerns are less valid than others, but it still feels like, I don't know, whatever. Anyway, I'm going to send this out. Being that I don't want to, imply anything, like I definitely was implying stuff that the fact that the report went in makes me feel a little bit more comfortable that, like, I wasn't just being completely bullshitted too. Nothing from my house, but that's okay. Again, I just have to process this, and I don't know where I'm going.